Hello, and thanks for registering your information. So let me tell you a bit more about the specifics of this opportunity. I really do think this is something that is worth giving up a few minutes of your Sunday to look at. Just to go over these numbers again, it's basically an investment of £30,000, of which you contribute £15,000. You then borrow the other £15,000 on an interest-free, non-status 10-year loan. You get 10% a year guaranteed rent for 15 years, so that's $3,000 a year, $45,000 in total. You also have a guaranteed buyback option from the owner, who will pay you 50% more than you pay, so that's $45,000. So in total, that means you are getting a return of $60,000 on an investment of $15,000. That is 400% over the 15-year term, or 26.66% a year. So, just massively better than anything you're going to get in any normal kind of high street investment. So obviously we have to look at it in a bit more detail now and have a look at the whole kind of risk-reward profile, and then you can make a decision. What exactly is it? Well, it is Hurst House Hotel in Carmarthen in Wales. Now, this is a grade 2 listed building. It's all about fine food, rest and relaxation, and for an investor it offers the safety and the security of a completed hotel with an established track record. So as well as what must be a virtually unrivaled offer in terms of the UK property investment market, you're buying into an existing, well-established business that's really thriving. It's a famous hotel and wedding centre. It features in the Sunday Times top 100 hotels in the world. This is not some grubby little B&B. This is one of the best hotels on the planet. The Independent called it one of the 5 best luxury hotels in Wales. If your daughter's getting married, you can book this hotel for her, but better not be in any hurry because they're booked through to 2014 now. Completely full this year, virtually full next year, now taking bookings for 2014. It actually used to be owned by Men Behaving Badly star Neil Morrissey, as he was building a very big business empire. Unfortunately, he overstretched himself and went into bankruptcy, but this was obviously one of the jewels in the crown of his portfolio. Actually ended up being bought from him by the former owners, and it's the former owners who are now bringing this investment opportunity to us. So a well-established, great reputation, very busy hotel in a lovely part of the country. I just want to show you a few pictures just to give you a feel for the quality of the place. It's easy for me to sit here and say it's a top of the range place, but if you actually get to look, here's one of the bar areas. This is one of the bedrooms. Really, each room is very different. They've got interior designers who've done each thing differently. So there's one example. There's a sort of exterior shot just showing you the ambiance of the place. Different again, kind of decor in one of the other living rooms. Here's the restaurant. Real tremendous reputation for high quality food here. Indoor pool, spa area as well. Here's another of the residences, and there's one of the doors through into the bar. So hopefully you can just get a feel for the quality of this place. It really is top of the range. The facilities, well, I've shown you the restaurant. It's got a great reputation. There's also that indoor pool and spa. There's a hair salon run by Andrew Price. The place is actually a licensed venue for weddings, so it's not just receptions. They will do the whole thing there if you prefer that to a church wedding. There's a business conference centre where you can hire rooms for meetings and so on. And perhaps to give you a good indicator of the kind of clientele they attract, there's a helipad. So if you want to just pop down there in your personal helicopter, there's somewhere to land. And there's actually instructions on their website specifically about longitude, latitude, and how to take off and land safely. So just pop down there in your helicopter after you've watched this video. Where exactly is it? Well, it's in Carmarthenshire, East Marsh. I guess that's Lafarne or something, don't ask me how to pronounce it properly, but you can see it's just down the M4 and the A48, and then it's off on the coast there, just down from Carmarthen. If we zoom in a bit, I can show you a closer map there, and you can see it's actually next to Pendine Sands, which if you're a petrol head like me, you'll know that that's where people like Malcolm Campbell used to set land speed records back in the 1920s, and there he is on Pendine Sands in the Bluebird of the time. So it's a lovely place to go and walk. There's the Botanic Gardens close by, Britain's newest horse racing course, again in an unpronounceable name, but it's nearby. You can arrange sea fishing trips with local experts. There's golf not far away, steam rail museum, horse riding, and there's annual festivals as well. So it's a really nice part of Wales, and it's right there next to the sands and the beaches. Some lovely walks and lovely bike rides nearby. Some of the other benefits of the investment: there are no ongoing charges. Unlike most other property-related investments that you know about, there's nothing else to pay once you've handed over that initial 30k. There's no council tax, that's all covered by the hotel. There's no insurance, that's all provided by the hotel. And of course, although I'm using these numbers based on a fraction of one of the units, you can invest in more than one. There are 13 fractions in each complete suite, and you can invest in 1 to 13 of those. Also, if you and a mate want to get together on this, two of you could come in as joint owners and maybe just put in 7.5k each if the 15k was a stretch. The only extra cost I've been able to discover as I've trawled through the papers, and I'm recording this on Saturday afternoon after about 7 or 8 hours of studying everything, is a documentation fee of £125. And obviously, if you do want to take separate legal advice, there's a firm of solicitors who've gone over all the paperwork and made sure it's sound and investment quality. But if you did want to take any independent advice, obviously that would be separately chargeable. And you can actually use the place if you want to. It's not quite the same model as on a lease back. Here, basically, you pay £150 a night, which I'm pretty sure is a discount from the normal rates, and that just gets deducted from your annual rent. Remember, you've got £3,000 a year of annual rent coming in, so if you wanted to spend a few nights there, then you can do that and simply deduct it from the rent that particular year. So just going through the numbers again, you buy a fraction for 30,000. You put in, well, you don't have to put in the just 15. You can put in more than that if you want. And if you do want to put in the full amount up front without the loan, you can actually get a 20% discount. So if you've got the cash to buy this, then you can get it for 24,000 instead of 30,000. If you take the borrowing, then you take 15,000 interest-free over 10 years. They pay you 3,000 a year for 15 years, so that's a total income of 45,000. Take off the loan repayment, and there's a profit there of 30,000. You've got the guaranteed buyback for 50% more than you paid, which is 45,000, less that deposit, so there's a profit on the buyback of 30,000. Even I can work out 30 plus 30 is 60, which is 4 times your original investment, which works out at the 26.6% per annum. Not surprisingly, there are not many of these left. There's one full unit at 390,000, which can be broken down into 13 fractions of 30,000, and there are an additional 4 fractions remaining in another unit. So that is a maximum of 17 transactions. But if somebody buys the whole of that unit, then we're down to 5 transactions. So there aren't many left, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to really rush to bring this to you. We've got the price rise of 10% coming on Tuesday the 1st of May, and we've got very few left. There will be a phase 2, but it won't be such favourable terms. I believe there'll only be a 100% buyback instead of 150% buyback. And the prices will obviously have gone up, so the returns will be significantly less. So this is what's left of phase 1. These are the best deals, and if you are interested, then there's a maximum of 17 going to get involved in this. So there ain't many, considering that this is probably being looked at by about 4,500-5,000 people. So those are the realities. Those are the facts. It has actually been sent to several SIP companies to be approved. It's designed to be SIP compliant. I believe it's being reviewed by Rowan Moore Pensions, by Liberty and Guardian at least. There may be 2 or 3 others. I would imagine if you did want to invest through your SIP, by the time we go through the paperwork process, the approval will almost certainly be in. They have approved similar schemes in the past, so we're not expecting any glitches with that. If you do want to invest through your SIP, then let me know. Obviously there are slight differences in terms of funding requirements and so on if it comes from a SIP, but if you've got 10, 15, 20, 30,000 sitting idle in your SIP, or you're just hacked off with the pathetic returns from your current fund managers, then maybe this is another way of giving a boost to your pension. Just to explain the parties involved, there's a company with the rather strange name of Kboo Limited. That is the actual owner of Hurst House. That will be the owner that sells the property to you and commits to buying it back for the enhanced figure of 45,000. There's then effectively a management company, an operational company called Eastmarch, and they are the ones that are going to pay you your rent each year for the next 15 years. So those are the parties that are involved in this transaction. In terms of the agreements, Kboo, the owner, will grant you the lease. It's not a freehold purchase, it's a leasehold, so you'll get the lease from them. And you, with them, will sign the option agreement for the buyback, and then Eastmarch you'll sign with them the sublease, which covers the ongoing rental agreement. So there's a few bits of paper to be signed here, because it's quite a unique structure. This, you're leasing a fraction of a hotel suite with an option to have it bought back, and you're giving the right to manage that to the company Eastmarch, which is operating the hotel. So that's how it all works out. All the paperwork, as I say, has been prepared by a firm of lawyers to make it investment grade, and we can go through all that if it's something that you'd like to go forward with. I've done a little risk assessment for you. Here's what I think, having read through all the material. I think it's great that this is already built. Don't forget, most of the developments we talk about are off plan. This one's actually already there, and it's a thriving business that needs funds for expansion. So great reason. We're not kind of taking a punt on whether a new resort works or not. We're actually helping to build something that's already very successful, which is a huge de-risking of a project like this. Also notice, people arriving in their helicopters are not the sort of people that are going to be most hit by these tough economic times that seem to be dragging on interminably. So in terms of looking out over the next 10 to 15 years, I think it's reasonable to assume that these people will be much less hit by any economic hardships, and that a place like this at the top end of the market will continue to be in big demand throughout the period. I also like the fact there's not really any uncertainty here. We know all the figures going in. We know what we're paying. We know what the rent will be. We know that there are no other charges, and we know what we're selling for. We have a certain exit strategy, and that's really very, very powerful. Probably the most attractive aspect of this investment, that you're going into it knowing what the numbers are in pretty much every respect. Your ownership title is registered, so there's no problem there in terms of legally proving that you own this asset. And there's a lot of flexibility on the investment options, as we've mentioned. You can buy an entire suite, a fraction of a suite. You could buy 2 or 3 for 30k each, and just put in half that amount and borrow the rest. So there's a lot of different ways you can possibly do it through your SIP if that appeals to you. You can pay the full amount up front and get a 20% discount as a further option. So lots of different flexibility on how you invest and the level of your personal contribution. And there are not many projects I'm aware of at the moment where you can get a non-status interest-free loan of 50%. So it almost seems mad not to take advantage of something like that when it's out there. Obviously, it just effectively doubles the returns on the project. So a complete no-brainer, I would think. And also, there is a guaranteed buyback, but of course, on the other side of the coin, it's not compulsory, because one of you could argue a potential risk would be if property prices just skyrocket in the next 15 years, you might look at 45k as being a completely unreasonable price. Well, you would have the option not to take it. So this is the beauty of it. It's guaranteed, but it's not compulsory. So you go in knowing, if you like, your worst case scenario is a mere 400% return, and it might be more. So what are the potential risks? Obviously, any company can go bust. Enron showed us that. So yeah, there's got to be that possibility. My feeling on that is they're being very sensible. They're doing a steady expansion of an already thriving business. They've owned it before. It had a celebrity owner who didn't make a success of his entire business empire, and this one got dragged down with it. But these are smart people that have run the business for some time. It's a very successful and well-run business now. Even if they did go out of business, let's take the nightmare scenario. Do you think someone's going to want to come and buy an asset like this, one of the big chains? I would have thought they'll snatch it up. These kind of trophy assets change hands for tens and tens of millions of pounds. So I would imagine the worst case scenario would be Cebu going bust, a big chain of hotels buying up the asset and coming to all the owners saying, we'd like to buy your piece back from you. And for the owners to agree, it's obviously going to have to be on attractive terms. So to me, that is a small and manageable risk. I suppose there could be a massive downturn in business that makes the venue no longer viable. I mean, you can't predict what's going to happen in 5, 10, 15 years, but again, it's high end, it's very distinct, it's in the top 100 hotels in the world. Seems to me pretty unlikely it's going to suffer from such a downturn that it's no longer viable. There is a small bit of small print that says, if they don't sell all of the fractions within a suite, then everyone's agreement is terminated and you get your deposit back. So the only risk of that is you can't get into the deal. But when you see the limited availability and how fast this is sold, I mean, I think it's kind of 70-75% sold in 2 or 3 weeks, then the chances of that happening, I think, are almost zero. But I just want to mention it is in the small print that is a potential risk. And when it comes to the buyback, there's another line in the contract I've seen that says that 7 out of 13, in other words, a majority of owners of a given unit, have to agree to the buyback to trigger that option. And again, chances of that, well, I would imagine people will only not agree to that if they think they can get a lot more on the open market. And if they can, obviously you can. So this to me will be a self-fulfilling prophecy. If the best deal is to take the guaranteed buyback, then everyone's going to do it. If the best deal is to avoid that and go into the open market, then you wouldn't have wanted the buyback anyway. So I think that's an eminently manageable risk again. So that's kind of where I'm at in terms of the risk assessments. My conclusion, it's an excellent opportunity with virtually every aspect of it guaranteed. Very rare chance to get leverage through the 50% finance. I mean, any kind of interest-only finance is hard to get now, but interest-free finance, I mean, this is free money. So it's obviously being factored into the overall numbers of the deal, but even so, it's really hard to identify any significant downsides, and the speed of sales in the last 2 weeks suggests that other people agree with that. So, you've already registered your interest by coming this far. That means if you do want to go ahead, you can lock in this deal. There's other information on the site here that you can download if you want to. Obviously, you're going to want to talk about this, so just give me a call on the usual number, 020-8940-7000, or email graham@leaseback.co.uk and ask me any questions you've got, or obviously make a reservation. But there's other people that are promoting these, so these will not be around for long. So do please get in touch if you're serious about it. It does look pretty special. Thanks for listening.